It's the last Monday in March, a month that, among other things, pays special attention to colon cancer awareness and national nutrition. In light of that, today's program will have features educating you about your health. Then later, we look at something we don't see often enough: youth in agriculture. I'm Adrian Atkinson, and this is Jamaica Magazine. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Brethren, the road signs make the traffic environment safe. The green light means go. Red means stop. Amber also means stop. Yeah man, it don't mean you must speed up. And get this, even if the light's on green, when the traffic is thick, don't bother move off and block the intersection. And please, don't stop on a pedestrian crossing. Look out for children, the disabled and the elderly. Follow the signs so they all can arrive alive. Be a good road user. Obey the road signs and look out for each other.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, March 27, 2023. Government is moving ahead with infrastructure development of $200 million on the Pedro Plains irrigation scheme. The investment is designated as a national strategic project. It will channel water to hundreds of farmers in the communities of Flagaman, Greenfield, Southfield, and Top Hill in St. Elizabeth. In his contribution to the budget debate recently, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the project would be financed through a combination of government resources, grants, and loan funding from the French government.
We undertook a feasibility study to take water from the Black River and use it to irrigate the plains of St. Elizabeth. Not only is the project feasible, but the team of French engineers have already designed the system and costed its implementation.
Mr. Holness pointed out that the plains of St. Elizabeth were among the most fertile in the country, and its farmers, despite not having irrigation, have proven to be the best in the world.
For decades, farmers have been clamoring for these irrigation systems, and we are getting it done.
The Prime Minister told the House that investment in the Essex Valley irrigation scheme had been the largest spend on irrigation in the country's history. He said billions of dollars had been pumped into the project, which serves parts of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, and the Southern Plains irrigation scheme, which will provide water to farmers in parts of Clarendon and St. Catherine. Meanwhile, the Cabinet has approved $100 million to conduct a cadastral survey of lands for the Pedro Plains irrigation scheme. The survey will provide a map of the entire area, which will identify different boundaries and land ownership. The announcement was made by Minister without Portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Floyd Green, at a function in St. Elizabeth last week. He was representing Minister with Responsibility for Water, Senator Matthew Samuda. Minister Green says the irrigation scheme will put about 4,000 hectares under irrigation supply.
Less than 10% of the arable land, the land that is good for farming, has irrigation supply. But do you know which parish in Jamaica produces the most agricultural items? St. Elizabeth produces the most agricultural items in the entire Jamaica. What we want to do is to change the water dynamic in St. Elizabeth. Because if you have great farmers who are doing well without water, imagine how well they will do when we provide them with irrigation water.
Minister Green adds that government has earmarked $2.5 billion to execute 21 projects to bring potable water to communities across Jamaica. 4 of the projects are in St. Elizabeth and include Black River to Treasure Beach, Hounslow, Magotty to Newton water supply improvements, and the Santa Cruz Bypass Pipeline project.
So what is happening is that the government is putting significant resources to try and bring water to our people. Water in your homes and water to the farms.
Approximately 100 unattached youth between the ages of 17 and 29 years are to benefit from skills training through the National Service Corps Residential Camp. The individuals are from communities that are under Zones of Special Operations, ZOSOs. The program was launched on Friday by Prime Minister Andrew Holness and is being facilitated through the Heart NSDA Trust. It is a component of the government's HOPE program and is expected to benefit 206 young persons. Mr. Holness says the aim is to change the mindset and outlook of participants to being more productive.
in 6 weeks, we're not going to transform you into a totally different person. But in 6 weeks, we can arrange programs such that you are, as a person, able to confront and start to grapple with the challenges that you face in your life personally, the challenges in your community, the challenges with your family, and to get you into a mode of thinking about what your future could be. And that's the intent of the program.
Prime Minister Holness says the camp is a powerful tool that will allow participants to regulate their behavior. Managing Director of Heart, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, outlines the curriculum.
The comprehensive curriculum covers construction, which includes tiling and drywall plastering, food and beverage, which includes bartending and banquet server, allied health, which includes home care and nail care, business and beauty therapy. In addition, our participants will improve their numeracy and literacy through the high school diplomacy equivalency intervention.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, is reassuring that contingency plans are in place should the country encounter an earthquake. Acting Assistant Commissioner in charge of the Operations Branch, Senior Superintendent Michael Bailey, outlined steps that would be taken. He was speaking at a recent JIS think tank.
In the initial phase, the JCF would establish a command post at the Police Emergency Communication Center, gather information as to what transpired or what occurred, and to provide that information to ODPEM.
SSP Bailey says the police would also support the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, with a senior officer to manage the Emergency Operations Center.
Based on our geography in respect to our stations right across the island, we would gather information as to the different areas that are affected and the type of response that is required. And that information would be provided to the Police High Command and all the emergency departments that would need to respond to the emergency.
And finally, donors of scholarships to Jamaican students have been lauded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for their continued support. They include members of the Jamaican diaspora, private sector partners, and Friends of Jamaica. Portfolio Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith expressed her gratitude at the recent symbolic handing over ceremony to the Jamaica 60 scholarship awardees. 16 scholarships were awarded. Minister Johnson-Smith says the awards were needs-based, with students receiving partial or full scholarships.
Selections were made based on feedback received from various institutions, with over 40 individuals being considered in this, the very first year of awards. The collaborative approach that characterized this initiative really reflects the position of the Government of Jamaica on diaspora engagement.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Colon cancer, as the name suggests, is cancer of the colon. It is most common in men ages 45 and older, but it does affect women as well, with the risk increasing as you age. Watch now as we take a more in-depth look at the disease and its health factors.
The gastrointestinal tract is a system of organs working together to support the human body. It takes food, digests it, absorbs energy and nutrients, and then removes waste through urine and feces. The esophagus, stomach, pancreas, liver, and colon are all part of this system, and studies show that cancer of these vital organs are becoming increasingly common in Jamaica. One of the leading causes of death among Jamaican men and women is colon cancer. cancer does not discriminate. It's the third most common cause of cancer-related death among Jamaican men and women. But like most lifestyle-related illnesses, you have the power to reduce your risk of developing colon cancer as well as prevent it from occurring. An unhealthy diet, smoking, obesity, alcohol use all increase one's risk for colon cancer.
Everyone is at some risk for colon cancer because everyone has a colon. But some individuals are at higher risk for colon cancer, depending on, for example, their diet or lifestyle. So a diet which is very high in processed meat, a diet which is high in fat, a diet which is low in fiber, these all increase your risk for colon cancer.
Other risk factors include persons with pre-existing medical conditions such as inflammatory bowel disease and ulcerative colitis. The risk level of persons with these diseases increases after 10 years. Therefore, active screening is a necessity. Unfortunately, signs and symptoms of colon cancer often mimic other diseases such as inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome. That's why it's crucial that there's early screening. So visit your doctor if you experience dark or bloody stool, rectal bleeding, diarrhea, constipation, bowel incontinence or narrowing of the stool that goes beyond a few days, belly pain, anemia, vomiting or unexplained weight loss.
You can develop a screening protocol in an individual depending on their risk.
It's recommended that colon cancer screening starts between the ages of 45 and 50 years old. The simplest screening tool is a stool test for blood at a local laboratory.
So this is not you looking to see if there's blood in the stool. This is you going to your doctor at the appropriate age. Your doctor sends you to the lab to get a stool sample tested to see if there's a microscopic amount of blood. This is the first sign usually that there is something called a polyp inside the colon. So the polyp is what's known as a precancerous stage. So it's not cancer itself, but we do know that a significant number of cancers will develop in individuals who have had a polyp. And the objective is to find the polyp and remove it before it gets a chance to become cancerous.
If a polyp is found, the next step in the screening process would involve a colonoscopy. In this procedure, a doctor would place a small camera into the bowel to check for the polyp and remove it if present.
We can do other screening tests. A barium enema is not as popular anymore, but it's still possible and is accessible and available, which is an X-ray involving some dye inside the bowel as well to look to see if there's anything growing there. A CT scan of the bowel can also be done as a screening tool to look to see if you have any polyps, which can then be removed at colonoscopy. Outside of screening for the colon, you may also want to try and reduce your risk by modifying your lifestyle. So stopping smoking, reducing your alcohol consumption, and eliminating processed meat in the diet are all important risk factors which can be modified to reduce the risk of colon cancer.
Carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables, proteins, fats and oils. Some of the food groups that contain the necessary nutrients to fuel the body once consumed in the correct proportions. Let's see the nutrients needed for good health.
Eating healthy by having a balanced diet consisting of items from all the food groups and consuming the right portions is important to get the nutrients vital for disease prevention, growth, and good health. Essential nutrients are building blocks for the cells that make up the body, from bone to muscle, skin, and hair. One of the most critical ones is protein, which is made up of different amino acids, some of which the body can make on its own. We need a variety of proteins to function properly, many of which can only come from the foods we eat. Meats, fish, and eggs are essential sources from animals, while plant sources include beans, nuts, and some grains. How much protein you need daily depends on a variety of factors, including how active you are and your age. Carbohydrates are the main nutrients for fueling the body's energy needs, especially our central nervous system and brain. They help protect against diseases, but some carbohydrates are healthier than others. Some healthy sources include your fresh produce, such as yam, banana, breadfruit, and tubers, as well as whole grains, fiber-rich vegetables, and fruits. Less healthy sources include refined grains and products with added sugar. Fats often get a bad rap, but it's important to know that healthy fats are essential to our body's function. Fats aid in vitamin and mineral absorption, blood clotting, building cells, and muscle movement. Fats are high in calories, which is a measure of energy from foods, but the World Health Organization recommends keeping daily calorie intake from fat at under 30%. Including healthy fats, which are the unsaturated fats in your diet, can help balance blood sugar, decrease the risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes, and improve brain function. Healthy fats are also powerful anti-inflammatories and can lower the risk for arthritis, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. Some of the well-known unsaturated fats are the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Sources of these healthy fats include fish, seeds, nuts, and vegetable oils, olive, avocado, and flax seeds. Trans fats are to be avoided, and we should also limit our intake of saturated fats, of which the main sources are animal-based and include butter, cheese, red meat, and ice cream. Vitamins are organic compounds essential for normal growth and are required in small quantities. There are 13 essential vitamins that the body needs, and these help lower the risk of diseases such as lung and prostate cancer. Vitamin A supports healthy vision, skin, and bones. Powerful antioxidants like vitamin C boost the immune system and helps the body heal. Eating a varied and well-balanced diet of fruits and vegetables should supply the body with the required vitamins. Minerals are also important nutrients needed for building strong bones and teeth. They help with regulating our body's metabolism and keeping us properly hydrated. The mineral calcium strengthens bones and teeth and helps with nerve signal transmission. It also helps to maintain healthy blood pressure and with muscle contraction and relaxation. Iron supports red blood cells and hormone creation, while the mineral zinc boosts the immune system and wound healing. The body also needs water, which improves brain function and mood, and acts as a shock absorber and lubricant in the body. Water also flushes our toxins, carries nutrients to cells, hydrates the body, and prevents constipation. Even mild dehydration can make us feel tired and impair concentration and physical performance. In addition to drinking water, we can hydrate ourselves by eating fruits and vegetables such as spinach and watermelon. Start treating your body right. As you grab your next meal, make sure you're getting all the nutrients needed in their right proportion.
How many young people do you know who are interested in agriculture? And not just any form of agriculture, beekeeping. This venture may be a viable option for your next source of income. Let's see what all the buzz is about.
Me and my sister got started when we were very young. I think I was 6 or something around that age. And my mom had 4 hives. And that is the beginning of success.
The name of our family business is Maccabee Enterprise. Here at Maccabee Enterprise, we are all beekeepers, down to my 9-year-old sister, Camila.
Working with the bees is nice. It's less challenging than back in the days. Don't want to sound too old. It is fun now. I am more confident. Yeah. It is calming, soothing. Takes you out of this world, bring in another. So it's fun. It's actually fun. My role here on the farm is using an extractor. To extract honey, there are many ways. I will be explaining 2 ways. First is the professional method where you use an extractor. So you have a capping knife, a knife with like a serrated edge, and you would uncap, which is a thin sheet of wax on top of the comb with the honey inside. So it's like a seal. So you use a knife and uncap that. Then you put it in the extractor and spin it, and it would flash out on the side of the extractor and drain to the bottom, and then you leak it out into a bucket. The other way is, well, when you don't have an extractor, is that you would use a capping fork, or you could use a regular fork, and you would hold the frame like this, long way, and you'd use the fork and gently scrape the frame. So you're taking off the comb, you're removing the comb from the frame in a sense, but you'd have on the frame there is a sheet of wax that we would put on as beekeepers, foundation. So it would guide the bees, to build more small cells that would get more workers in the hive.
From the bees, we get 5 main products, right? We have pollen, propolis, beeswax, honey, and royal jelly. So based on those 5 things, we actually think about what we can do with those 5 things. So in beekeeping, we actually have honey flow periods and we have dirt season. Those are the 2 main periods. In between, we have like a pre-flow and pre-dirt, basically. But okay, so in our honey season, that's the time when they're on production. They're bringing in their honey, their pollen, everything up on top. But for like in St. Thomas, there is like a 6-month period where there's dirt. There's no honey coming, no much honey that we can reap. There's just enough for them to feed themselves and their babies and be able to stay alive. In the dirt period, when there's not enough honey for us to harvest and be able to sell, we do things like remove our old combs and boil it out, and we get wax. With the wax, we do like the body butters, we do candles, lip conditioner. So that's the wax. With the pollen, we actually collect the pollen, and the pollen is a very good multivitamins. So we actually collect the pollen and dry it and package it for sale. For the royal jelly, we don't do a lot of work with the royal jelly. As we go along, we are actually developing products. So for the royal jelly right now, we put it in our honey wine. And then again, the honey wine is made from honey. My involvement in making the byproducts are production. I do most of the labels. I have help, so I can't take all the credit, but most of the labels are from me. I do social media marketing, so most of the WhatsApp texts, Instagram, they might mostly be from me. My younger siblings' involvement in the business is some help with the production, so there is some small things like shredding the wax that they can do. They help with the bees as well, because we're homeschool and we kind of tag along with our parents right through and through. So with the bees and with production. And my younger sister, she's very artistic. So when I'm actually doing the labels, sometimes she would draw this beautiful picture and I would actually use that as part of the label.
I have 4 personal hives for myself. I have 3 long struts, which is the regular kind of box that you would see that holds 10 frame, and they would stack on one on top of the other. And I have one top bar, which is a 30-frame box, which goes a long way. And it only has a top bar. It doesn't have the top bar with the square. It doesn't have a frame. It's just the top bar. My advice to other youth interested in beekeeping is you have to be persistent, and you have to be confident, and you have to be committed to beekeeping.
Beekeeping can be very wide. You don't have to just stuck with the bees, the sting, the honey. There is so much more that you can do. You can do candles. There is actually a shortage of beeswax candles. And beeswax candles are very easy. You mold, you wick, your color if you need, and you're done. Lip conditioner is another easy one. And if you go online, just take some of your time out of your texting and just research some products that you can actually do from the products that you get from the bees. The 5 products I mentioned, there's so much more.
Coffee was introduced to Jamaica in 1728. Creighton Estate was established around 1765, and the Blue Mountain Range and the central region of Jamaica, which is the Grand Ridge of Jamaica, were the major coffee producing regions. Currently, we are fully certified under the Rainforest Alliance, and we are the very first entity in the Caribbean region to attain that certification. Now, the Blue Mountain Range of Jamaica is a microclimate of the island and has provided the perfect conditions for growing the Arabica coffee. A typical day in the Blue Mountain, the most sunlight is in the mornings from about 11:32 to 4 p.m. You know, this is the weather that we experience. This is a norm in the Blue Mountain. It's nothing unusual, you know, for the range to be covered with mist. And after sunset, the temperature basically goes below 20 degrees Celsius. So those are the perfect ingredients to develop high quality coffee. You know, the culture here is rich. We're an extremely creative, you know, set of people. In Jamaica, there's everything. If you're a nature lover, we have it. If you like the wetlands, we have it. You know, great coffee, you know, great food. You know, God has been good to us. You know, the God has been good to us. The universe has been good to us, you know, as a country. And this rock, I love it, man. I love it.
Health is not valued until sickness comes. Don't let that be you. Take the time to invest in your health and make better choices today. Do join us again tomorrow on this same station for another educational and entertaining program. Remember to visit our website, jis.gov.jm, to watch a repeat of this and lots more. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.